How you doing, man?
I'm
to see you.
good, brother. Thanks for having me.
What? We're taping this at 1 p.m. So,
Yes.
what do you have any sort of day when you have something at 1? Like, did you write it all today?
No, blocked today off. You know, it can look different. You know, obviously one of the freedoms of being a songwriter is you can, you know, it's funny when you move to town, it used to be like everybody showed up at 10, wrote at 10. And as I've gotten, you know, been here longer, the day moves back a little bit, usually start at 11, but blocked off today, but usually get going about 11. Sometimes it'll push the afternoon, but usually
Really?
it's like
11? That's
isn't that crazy?
dream.
It's like the joke. We start at the butt crack of 11. And
when I sat down, I was trying to think the last time I saw you, but then I see your brother and I get not confused, but yeah, I mean, you guys do look alike. I think all together it was the CMAs.
yes, CMA.
Right? We were back in that little mid-fancy room where people
Yeah.
get to go and eat food, but it's been touched by other people,
Yeah.
so it's not fully
Yeah.
fancy. And it was right when you guys had won.
Yes.
For Buy Dirt.
Such a cool. I was thinking about this interview and I was thinking about that moment with you. You know, we've met in the past, you know, in passing a couple times, but I was just thinking about that memory winning, you know, the highlight of my life, one of the highlights of my life career. Songwriting Wise was winning, you know, Buy Dirt with those boys and going backstage. And, you know, Luke comes off stage and high-fiving us and then going back there and then hanging in the green room with you and Jordan and Jacob and just celebrating back there. So
yeah, that's pretty
special,
cool. Is that the
special moment.
highlight? Is that the public-facing highlight of your career?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's been like some personal highlights. You know, I had a triple play one year. We have, you know, sort of industry things I won.
What were the three in what year?
Shoot, it was Confession, Setting the World on Fire, and shoot, you're going to do this to me. Maybe where it's, I'm trying to think, no, Cop Car. I don't know.
Because I know all your songs, but I don't know the years as in.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I know it's those two. I'm trying to think what the third one is.
What's the rule on the triple play? Do they have to be written in the same year or released and hit number 1 in the same year?
You know, I think the rules have evolved a little bit where now they'll include like hot country number ones. But back when I did it, you had to have 3 number ones on the radio in a calendar year.
So it didn't matter when they were written because they could have been written 3 years prior.
Exactly.
So if they were number 1 on the calendar, got it.
And for me, you know, I remember going into Tim DuBois' office, great songwriter, producer, ran Arista Records forever, and he had a triple play on the you know, on his shelf. And I, you know, growing up, you're like in town, you're like, hey, that's the dream to win one of those. And so I would say that's one of the highlights. And then obviously winning CMA Song of the Year, you know, just to do it with my brother and the Davis boys on the song that we wrote is going to be hard to be topped. And that same year we won NSAI Song of the Year, which is, you know, the fellow peers in town vote for their favorite song of the year. To win there was really special too. And my parents, it was at the Ryman, my parents got to come in and, you know, our history with our dad being a songwriter growing up, just to him to be in the house that night was really special, but hard to top the CMA Song of the Year.
I forgot. Now it's all coming back, but I forgot Jacob and Jordan.
Yes.
It was brother on brother crime that wrote the song. It was hard. That's cool.
And you know what's cool is, you know, we can get into that more later, but what's really cool is I heard the only other number 1 written by 2 sets of brothers, you know the song? Red Solo Cup.
Let me.
Oh, sorry. I gave it.
How are you going to ask?
I know. Dang.
So that'd be the Warren Brothers. And then, and Jim, because I've written a bunch with Jim. Jim, I don't know Jim's brother, though.
Brett.
Yeah.
Sorry, I teed you up there.
You did, and I think I would have got there, but you gave me no time to answer the question. That's the worst game show I've ever been on. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
no.
Cool little fun fact.
Another little fun fact about that song is that they basically just used a work tape for that song. Toby just sang over it.
Wow.
Because you hear Jim in the background. That's him when they were just making the demo.
Such a cool, brilliant
to Red
song.
Solo Cup. Yeah. Wait, it's way better than you guys.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best one.
It is,
for
sure, for sure.
How often do you write with your brother?
A lot.
Was it ever a thing where you didn't for a while?
You know, growing up in Texas, like we grew up in a super musical household, and there was so much music. Actually, when you would call our house, the answer machine we would like record ourselves singing together on the answer machine. So we just grew up playing music together, but never really wrote. And then, you know, he was in a pop rock band and traveled America. And
I was a fan.
Yeah.
of his band. I
They're
told him
amazing.
that one. I was like, man, I used to work at a TV station, a music TV network, and that's where I kind of fell in love with them.
Yeah.
And I remember when he was in here, I was like, dude, I was a big fan. Yeah.
And they opened up for, you know, Switchfoot and Goo Goo Dolls and all these cool things. And that band kind of wrapped, and I said, you got to come to Nashville. So he came, and then we really started, you know, writing more. And then, you know, as time's gone on, we've written more and more. And then it's really cool. We kind of partnered with Jordan on his first record, and it's been really special to write a lot, really focused on the Jordan thing. But we actually wrote this week. So I'd say a couple times a month.
Was there ever a time, though, where if he's just moving to town, like, we're not going to write together because I don't want people to think that I'm getting you rights because you're just my brother. Was that ever a conversation? Like, you didn't want him to feel like, or you want other people to feel like, since he was your brother, he was getting a bunch of great rights?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I obviously, I think we've allowed each other to have enough space in our career. I think that's important. You know, the Warren Brothers write every write together.
Together, all of them.
I couldn't do that. So I think we've let each other have enough space, and we would co-write. But when he moved to town, I actually introduced him to Shane McAnally.
It's a pretty good introduction.
And Shane believed in him and signed him to Smack. So he was with Smack Publishing for years. And, you know, we didn't write a bunch. Yeah, it's almost like, hey, you know, you come here, do your own thing. You got to kind of find your own way. And I think it took him a few years to kind of, you know, find his groove, and he's rocking now. But it's cool. We kind of, we do our thing together, but we both sort of allow each other some space, and it feels fresh and exciting when we come back together.
Help me out with something. I was going through your catalog, and when you mentioned that triple play with Confession, how's that song go? All the songs are Blur.
Rusty barbed wire lines these fields, gravel dust behind the wheels.
Is that the chorus?
Chorus is light up the night and I just switch keys. Light up the night and let it burn. Lean back and watch the sundown fade. Do what I do when life's a little sideways. Take a sip and say a prayer. Wait for a shooting star and stare off at the headlights on the highway. Guy in the windshield looking back, looks just like me, but there's a crack in the reflection. This is just the moonlight sun.
Got it.
Cool.
Got it.
Cool.
Took me a minute. There's songs everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
I got it now.
Yes.
Took me a second. Do you ever do that? You ever mix up your own songs?
Oh, all the time.
Good, because I don't want to feel insulted there.
Oh, and you know what's funny? Like, I play these writers' rounds. I was playing one last night, and I'll have like almost performance anxiety where I play these songs a million times, but I have so many melodies in my head that I will be like, do I remember this melody I'm about to play? But yeah, especially when you're writing and performing, you're like, you get them all twisted up for sure.
I talked to your brother a bit about growing up, but everybody has two different stories, especially because you're not the same age.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you grow up, it's the same, but it's different.
Yeah.
Musical family. I don't know. Tell me what they were like, what your parents were like, and what you saw them doing musically.
Yeah. So, you know, such a cool thing. My dad wanted to be a songwriter. His parents weren't musical at all. He wanted to be a songwriter. And, you know, we have binders of lyrics, you know, still that he would write lyrics, and, you know, we sit around and joke and sing his songs. Now, sometimes we talk about making like a little record of his songs, but we just grew up in a household with, you know, music all the time. Songwriters were highlighted. But when he met my mom, he had a band you know, playing around Texas, and she would take tickets to the door and he would play. And, you know, when they had us, he obviously had that dream. And there's actually a hilarious video, I think there's some on YouTube, of us playing around the Opries in Texas, which are sort of mini, you know, Grand Ole Opries. And people would show up and we'd be singing like almost like family band style, you know, Merle Haggard singing Daddy Frank. And so I'm like 8 or 9, and my bro's there, he's 6 or 7, and we're singing with my mom. My mom's got the big Texas hair, and, you know, dad's singing and we're singing along. And so we just grew up doing the family band thing, singing together. And my dad, you know, it's funny, I was thinking about, you know, it's really nice because I think as you get older and you start writing songs, you almost have this inner critic. And I think my dad just encouraged us to write and challenged us to write. He used to give us a yellow legal pad and say, hey, go in the other room and write a song. And I think starting at such a young age allowed us to it's almost like we didn't even have that inner critic in us. And so we just wrote. And he really highlighted to us, hey, here's the artists that write their own songs. And so I just think we loved songwriters. I think we loved songs. We just grew up in it. And he cultivated that in us, the love for songs. And so, you know, when Josh joined GRO, he's writing all the songs. I moved to Nashville, got signed, I'm writing all my songs. And so, yeah, we just grew up in that environment that loved music. I always say, I didn't know it wasn't normal to sing at every family function until I went to other people's houses and like, this isn't normal to sing on cue at other people's houses. So we just grew up in that. And, you know, there was never any plan B. I was like, I want to make music.
I had a friend that messaged me late last night, but I go to bed so early, so I read it this morning. And he's in the middle of writing a book. I've written a couple books. I didn't like the process.
Yeah.
They take forever.
Yeah.
I like writing funny songs much better, or just songs in general, because I know if it sucks or not after I finish it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like he's like, I think I've hit writer's block. And he asked me for my advice. And I said, hey, I don't know what writer's block is because I feel like I always suck. Like, I feel like I live in a constant, perpetual state of writer's block. Do you get that as a writer, like a version of writer's block where nothing is triggering the same thoughts? Nothing, you feel like you can't land on a melody. Your lyrics aren't in. Does that ever happen with you?
Yes, and I think the benefit of Nashville is because it's such like a blue collar, at least how I approach it, blue collar. My calendar's booked out for the year, or not the year, but like months and months. And you fill in the gaps where it's like, hey, I have to show up and be creative, and you really get to lean on other people. But it is a little bit of like, I will say that I go through stretches where I can feel very uninspired, and that could be tied to writer's block. And so, I have little tricks that kind of get me out of it. But
What are they? I want to hear a couple.
Yeah, man. I think obviously some of the go-tos, reading.
Dude, I do. I'm telling you, you're speaking right now to somebody who uses that exact
You
thing.
have to read.
Yeah.
I really think, again, and it's different for everybody, but I just didn't realize I love it. And you got to find, hey, when I first moved to town, it's like, hey, here's double. You got to write doubles.
And not Twitter, by the way, because I used to be like, I'll just read Twitter.
Yeah,
not the same thing. Not the same
exactly.
thing. Yes.
You might find a hook on Twitter.
Yes, that's true.
But I have, on Instagram, you're like, oh, that's a cool quote. But I think you gotta, if you're pouring out, you spend your whole life talking and pouring out. And
it's constant ideas.
Constant
I know.
Books and song. And it's like, man, if you're not filling your tank up, you will start regurgitating the same thing and melodies. And so you really have to take time and fill your tank. And so for me, it's like I love to work, but I've also had to find the balance of like, I know when I'm starting to get a little burnt. And so I go through seasons, but I'll read. If I'm reading a book, then I'll just, I might grab 5 titles from a book, or listen to, some great music is always great because I just feel like language and vernacular and, finding a cool artist and just listening and letting it be in the background will just trigger phrases and ideas. And so I just feel like the intake of that helps like fill the well to pour back out.
This may tell you how unintelligent I am, like fundamentally. When I read books, I read them and then I use new words. Like my vernacular expands, even though I know the words, there are a lot of words that I really don't use until I read a book and they're using those words. And I'm like, oh, those are good words I've forgotten about.
Yes.
And that sounds like something a 6th grader would say.
Yes.
But that helps me tremendously in like my everyday 5-hour-a-day talking life.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, hey, what is this word? And okay, what does this mean? You just kind of innately, put it into your, like you said, your vernacular.
Sometimes I don't even realize I'm using it. It just pops up all of a sudden.
Have you read, I don't know what you're reading right now, Demon Copperhead I just read. That was an amazing book. And then one of my favorites that I've read in a long time is a book called James. Have you read that?
Is it fiction, nonfiction? Tell me about it.
It's fiction, and it's actually, I'm trying to think of the author's name. It's fantastic. It's one of the best books of the year. I saw on a few lists, but it's from the perspective, Huck Finn is from the perspective of the slave.
Oh, yeah?
So the whole book is from James, the slave's perspective. It's wonderful. It's one of the best books that I've read in the last few years. So anyway, not to
No, I like the game of book nerd because
you almost got to have somebody.
Yes, it's like a Netflix show. Honest to God, I don't know what shows to watch unless my friends say it's
too much
good.
of a commitment.
Yes.
I need somebody to tell me that it's great, that I trust.
I'm going to pull up my book thing. The weird thing about, and again, I'm not the person to go to if someone's thinking about writing a book because the process to me it was grueling.
Yeah.
Because it was so long. And there's no payoff the day it's released, where if you put out a song, it comes out that day, you can go, hey, what do you think of the song?
Yeah.
Just generally to people.
Yeah.
You put out a book, you got to wait 2-3 weeks before anybody even reads the freaking thing.
Yeah.
So you're just like sitting on your thumb, just going, well, I'll do this and feel it until somebody tells me how they feel. Right now, I say I don't read a lot of fiction. I like to read fiction when I will allow myself, which I'm getting better at, but I'm reading the book called The Life Impossible right now.
Okay.
Which is by this author from I don't know any names of any books or songs because I read everything on a iPad and you don't see the front of the cover anymore.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to remember the title of the book if I don't see the front of the cover over and over again?
You enjoy reading it on the screen?
I don't read it on my phone, but I read it on an iPad.
Okay.
Or a Kindle.
Yeah.
My wife reads a Kindle.
Yeah.
I read an iPad. But what's funny, people say like, hey, you read anything good? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
Because when it was hard books,
Yep.
you always saw the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, are those inspiring? Like things that inspire you, not self-help, but like that motivates you a little better? Is that your kind of go-to?
So the book that I can read you, I read recently, Don't Believe Everything You Think.
I heard about that book.
Yeah, I tend to, and it's mostly the difference in thoughts and thinking where you don't control your thoughts. You do have some influence on your thinking because that's putting effort into your thoughts and how some of your thoughts are toxic. You can't control your thoughts that come in, but it's basically you can, to a point, control your thinking. And I did that. I read this book called Gambler from Billy Walters. He's a crazy guy who bet all this money. And I get into some of these books too. Like I read The Realm of Hungry Ghosts. I come from a family of addiction. And what sucks about reading digitally is that you're like, I really want to read this. And it's by Gabor Mate, who's a doctor. And I'm like, I'm in. And then you buy the book. I'm an idiot. I buy the book and it's like 913 pages. And I'm like, God dang, if I'd seen it at the store, I would have never grabbed it. It's too big.
913, that's a big book. Yeah.
On the iPad, it's all the same thickness.
That's a commitment.
I read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
Oh, great book.
Yes, awesome, right?
Great book,
And that's who wrote
Matt Haig,
The Life Impossible.
Okay, I've heard.
And that's why I ended up on that one.
Okay.
That Midnight Library was
fantastic.
And it's all about like life choices, like don't second guess what you're doing because maybe it doesn't feel right this second. But it's stuff like that I'll read and I'll just pull so much even without knowing it. So subconsciously. And that was my question about you and writing. Like where do you pull stuff from whenever you have to be a well?
Yeah, you have to be. And I again, I have a daughter, my oldest daughter will read. She'll be like, Dad, I love her. She's a book nerd, but she's like, I read 150 pages last night, and I'm like blown away. But I told her, I said, I read an article, and they're saying, I'm trying to remember the stat, but like the most successful people read the most books a lot of times, CEOs, and so I'm like, it's like trying to encourage that in my girls or whatever. And so, but for me as a creative, it's just I've learned when the well's dry, I gotta like put on, the things, obviously for me, getting in my word in the morning, and then obviously I love to listen to music, like classical music with no lyrics is refreshing. But yeah, books, movies, I love movies. And again, as a writer, I feel like my antenna can go up and go, okay, I'm listening to every conversation. I'm listening, trying to find, you know what I'm saying? Ideas if I'm like in that mode.
I'd like to say to anybody listening, I think both of us understand that our jobs are not the same as going to the mill, like my stepdad had to do every day. Whatever the physical labor job is, we're in a creative space. But I'm going to say this. It starts to burn. It starts to be hard work because not the same hard work. I can already see the messages. I'm just doing a little proactive, keeping the messages from hitting me in the head right now. When it starts to be difficult, like an actual grind, what I can do now a bit is force a bit of boredom because I'm a creative, but I'm managing 7 different projects at once. And so I'm using both sides of my brain and I'm having to constantly think of compelling, funny things. And at the same time, I'm managing people and I'll run out where I feel like I have nothing good. Nothing. So if I don't force myself to be bored, nothing creative happens. So I have to get myself back to that space.
It's like the quiet.
Yeah. It's one of the places that I think the best is in the shower because I can't go anywhere else. There's no phone I can get to. So I'll just sit there. The shower is a good place for me.
Driving. To me, it's like driving, shutting everything off. Shower's great.
Yeah, when I drive, I'm on my phone, you paying a credit card.
It's a scary place. You're alone with your thoughts. But it's also a beautiful thing because we really aren't alone with our thoughts anymore. And
it's hard to be,
It's hard to be. And we can feel so much of the space. And so, obviously that's where God shows up and just downloads, things to you. And you can kind of chew on things. And
how much of a Texan are you?
I've met people that are, we know them.
And I lived there for 12 years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I lived in Austin.
Okay.
My young adult life is completely formed by the state of Texas and Austin, Texas. So yes, a Lone Star beer.
Yeah. I have friends that are so diehard Texan, and I love it. I was talking to Reed earlier. It's like, hey, you move away, and like I some of that pride I feel even stronger now from where I came from. But I'm not near as hardcore as a lot of people.
Looking at your catalog here of songs that are listed as notable hits. I'm not sure who listed them. Maybe even Mike. I don't know. Buy Dirt, Jordan Davis. Talked about that one. Cop Car, Keith Urban. That was a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, that was my first.
With Sam?
With Sam. Yeah. I'd had a few songs that I won't name that died in the 40s on the chart, 50s, and didn't do what I wanted them to, and sat down. Sam was working, didn't have a record deal yet. And I'd written with him a time or two, and he showed up. Obviously, Sam's brilliant. And that Montevallo record, really, few records come along that sort of changed Nashville. But I love the way that his brain works and thought, and he had that idea. You know, he was, I think it's his wife. He was trespassing on some property and got put in the back of a cop car. He goes, I want to write a song called "Fell in Love" in the back of a cop car, and we wrote it over 4 or 5 writes, and Keith Urban heard it and played it at the Grammys, and changed my life. I always say I was able to call the home folk back in Texas and tell them I sort of made it. I wasn't crazy no matter what else happens. Keith Urban played my song at the Grammys. So that was the first like big win, honestly. Win in my cells and win for me in town.
When you talk about writing with Sam, and that was early for you and early for him.
Yeah.
And you say you wrote 4 or 5 times. Like, I know Sam and also know how Sam works. Was that how he worked then, where it was we were just going to revisit it over and over and over and over and over?
I mean, literally, I'll say this when we talk about other artists, but like Sam is one of the most talented, brilliant people that I've been in the room with. But I think that the gift that Sam has is he literally, the longer I've been here, I've learned this. The best writers know when it's wrong. And the great ones know how to fix it and make it right. And you can just write a song, but the great writers know it's not right. And Sam has that thing where he could just rewrite the same verse 10 times. You know, so we spent 5, 6 writes just like writing and rewriting and stripping down. And that wasn't, I'd done that a little bit. And so, yeah, the early days with Sam were hard, but good hard, because the end product was so great, but it was painful. But I will say I've written with him quite a bit recently, and he's not mellowed out, but I think he's evolved a little bit and a little less. That we'll work on stuff and then he'll take it back and kind of woodshed on it a little bit more than he used to.
Yeah, notorious at taking forever.
Yeah.
And then after forever, going back and redoing it again.
I heard all this said, Sam's just, I think, one of the most talented people.
Sam, I love Sam.
Oh, but I heard Body Like a Back Road. I heard 20 different versions. So,
a lot, yeah.
But again, one of the biggest songs in country music history. So he knows something, right?
For sure. What about, like, there are little things about songs sometimes that maybe you don't think are going to be the big thing about the song, and the yep,
yeah,
and Dustin Lynch, Where It's At.
Yep.
When you say that song, I go yep.
The yep song.
So more so than like the writing of that song, I'm curious about the addition of yep, or I guess the lack of subtraction of yep, or how that came about.
Wrote with Zach Crow, who's a great friend. We sort of came up together, and we had Cop Car together. And we wrote that Where It's At with Carrie Barlow. And, in your career, you have these songs that are like, are these big, meaty songs. And then Zach had this track. Zach hadn't had a hit yet. Zach had this track, and we showed up with Carrie Barlow, and Carrie's, married to Hillary Lindsey, just an amazing musician and guitar player. And he starts playing that lead lift, down, 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 and we write Where It's At. And there's this little space, and I give it up to Zach and just his intuition. His producer hit intuition. There was a little space where Yep Yep went, and we were just working on it, and he just got on the mic and said, Yep Yep. He just filled that space with Yep Yep. And it's so funny. It was like, it came out, Dustin cut it. It's like, Where It's At, Yep Yep. It's like, it became a thing, and it was so funny. It was like such like an add-on after the fact. But those little candy,
absolutely.
I think his pop brain knew there needed to be a part there, and it was like that little candy that kind of took it to another level.
I wonder too with that song, and again, I'm asking you to go and think back about something
No.
years ago, but was it, hey, let's try this. Hey, I think this is going to be awesome. Did you hear it the first time? It had to hit a little weird because, again, that's not common into how.
Yeah.
Like, what was the range there of let's try this. Okay, I like it. Or you guys talk about it a little bit.
And again, like you said, I don't remember exactly, but I do remember digging in and feel like it became like a thing in the song that kind of made it special.
Did you know it was going to be something that stuck out? Like,
yeah,
when you were
that's
done?
what it felt like.
Yeah,
it felt
cool.
like, it was, that little extra piece. And then obviously Dustin cutting it and just taking it to another level. And it's so funny when I play it live, it's like then the crowd's singing the Yep Yep part. It is like the thing.
There are a couple other instances I think of, not exactly the same, but Colby Calais, Will You Count Me In? And they leave that in.
And you guys,
yes, and you guys did that purposefully. But it's like the things that you remember from the songs that maybe weren't supposed to be the thing you were going to remember from the song when they wrote the song.
Yeah.
That, and then James Blunt on You're Beautiful, where he's like, That's a and he like sings the
Mm.
first line twice, the beginning of it,
Okay.
and they
I need to go back and listen.
left it in.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of those
It's almost like that uniqueness or that.
for sure, and there's got to be a conversation like, do we leave this in?
Yeah.
Like why?
It's almost some magic in it. That you go like.
And some
we can't-
risk.
Yeah.
And some risk. Yeah, Yep's awesome. I tell Dustin that all the time. Like,
Thank you, man.
the fact that he cut that song, left it in,
Yeah.
didn't think that he was too good for it.
Yeah.
Because now that's one of the most fun songs
Yeah.
that like they call it a recurrent.
Yeah.
It's a really fun recurrent. Of your songs, and for those listening, a recurrent would be a song that has already hit number one, done really well, has been off the chart, but will be brought back to play because audiences are familiar with it and like it.
Yeah.
There are also things called golds that would be like Brooks and Dunn, like
Yeah.
the older. But of like, what song has done best for you as like as a recurrent?
I mean, obviously, I would say "Buy Dirt," but that's kind of a fresher song. So "Where It's At" was big, but can I be honest? "Do I Make You Wanna," Billy Currington
Oh yeah, good.
is like that was sort of we love that song. It was not even going to be a single, and they decided to put it out. And Billy's voice is just insane, and I don't know, whatever it just sounded so good on the radio, and I still hear that song all the time. And when you look at, you're able to look at your ASCAP checks and go, hey, which songs? Some fall off a cliff, and then
That's a good recurrent.
and then Billy, I still hear it.
Billy is the artist that I think of most when it's I didn't know he sang that artist.
Yes.
Of Nash. He has so many hits, monsters, awesome songs, but he's not around much.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at his catalog, you're like, I didn't realize he had that many hits.
Oh, if you went and saw Billy Currington, it would be
It's all hits.
probably 20
It's
hits.
all
It's all
hits.
hits.
It's crazy how many he has.
Yeah, he almost falls, a little under the radar for his voice is so identifiable, but it's weird how some artists just sort of transcend and become bigger. You also have these artists that you look at their catalog and they don't have that many hits, but they're such a star and they have a thing, and Billy is, but some artists just kind of fall under the radar a little bit. Maybe.
And I think that's Billy's personality.
Yeah, a little understated, yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a lot to say
Yeah.
when he's not saying
Yeah.
it. And I've been lucky. Billy and I have been really cool for a long time, but not cool as in we talk a lot because he doesn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
he's like, hey, you should come stay with me in Hawaii. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we've talked 4 times. I love you, but I don't know, I think that's part of what has kept Billy from being the person everybody knows is Billy has
Yeah.
chosen not to be the
Yeah.
person that everybody knows.
He's like, he'll post videos of him in Hawaii or something. It's funny, when "Do I Make You Wanna" was coming out, he posted a video on Instagram, and we're like, uh-oh. For a minute, he like posted a video of like him naked, like from behind, like climbing a coconut tree, and you're like, uh-oh, this is gonna hurt our song. It was just like, anyway, classic Billy.
My favorite song of yours, maybe one of my top 20 songs since moving to Nashville, is "Setting the World on Fire."
Thank
Because
you.
I love when Kenny sings slow songs. I'm not a big beach Kenny guy because I don't like the beach that much.
Yeah.
I love Kenny Chesney when he's doing the ballads.
Yeah.
And this is up there. It's Kenny and Pink. I love "Setting the World on Fire." Tell me that story.
Yeah, such a cool story. I mean, Josh Osborne, there's a crew of us when I first moved to town. It's Shane McAnally, Matt Ramsey, lead singer of Old Dominion, Trevor, Brandy Clark, and Josh Osborne. And we were like a pack. And Josh Osborne's like one of my best friends in town. We've been writing for years, had a few hits on there to get that list. And we got together with our buddy Ross Copperman. And, people always ask, the cool thing about Nashville is it is about ideas, but Ross is brilliant. I don't know if you've had on Ross before.
Ross is one of my close friends.
Oh, yeah. Ross is a great friend. And he's brilliant. He's musically brilliant, and he'll have these musical pieces. So he had like almost like a score. He had the music to "Setting the World on Fire," no melodies. And so we just start singing and melodies, and we don't have a hook. And it's funny, I love the Ryan Adams song, "La Cienega Just Smiled." And, so I'm like, first verse, we got drunk on La Cienega Boulevard. And we start coloring all these cool pictures, and we don't have a hook. And so I'm like scrambling an hour in going like, what hook can we find that fits this? And a couple of pages back, I'd written down the titles, back to reading, and I'd written down "Setting the World on Fire." So I'm like scrambling for an idea, and a couple of pages back in my notes section had written down the title "Setting the World on Fire." We plugged that in, got sent to Kenny. There's a funny story here. We got sent to Kenny. We heard he loved it, and Pink was going to hop on it. And I don't know if you heard this story, but I heard she called him and said, the story, I'm putting out music at the exact same time. You can't release this. And yeah, you may know more than I do of the story. And luckily she called back and said, I'm pregnant. You can put the song out. Is that true?
That's true.
I'd heard that.
Yeah.
So I always say, whatever happened that night, I'm glad it happened.
Yes.
Right?
Her getting pregnant allowed that song because, they had music that was going to bump up against each other.
Her baby helped me pay for my babies. So I'm grateful. But anyway, that I think that song, like, the thing I love about it is it has, like, it's country, but it has soul and, it's like, I don't know, it's one of my funnest to play live, and it just has, like, a thing to it that's, again, a lot of it's Ross and Josh's brilliance, but Kenny and Pink just brought it to life. So,
I love that song.
and I didn't even, when I first heard it, I thought Kenny was going to sing the choruses, and then he got Pink to sing them, which is like really a cool, almost like a pop thing to do.
So the television show Nashville that was on ABC and then ended up being on CMT, which was fiction.
Yeah.
That's not the show that you were on.
No. Oh, you're going old school. I didn't even know you knew about this. Yeah, there was a show, I think on Fox, that
it was on Fox.
Yeah.
I know all the answers.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you tell
the
story.
You do, man. You know some some dirt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be an artist. I grew up in Texas. I wanted to be George Strait. I moved here, had a record deal, lost a record deal. I'm kind of in the, like, wilderness years, like, what am I doing? And I got approached to be on the show Nashville. It was on Fox, and it was I should have known. It was from the creators of Laguna Beach, but they were pitching it as more of a like, hey, it's about the music. I should have known.
Music credibility.
Yeah.
Was how that show, I remember when it was being created.
Yeah.
And it really was. There was
no.
Yeah.
And so you got in and you realize, like, oh, they're just going after the drama. And what's funny is, like, Jamie Johnson was on the show, Chuck Wick. There was a lot of, people that I'm friends with now. And I'm glad I did the show, but I got in and there was, like, just drama. And they're like, hey, you think that girl's cute? You're going to hang out tonight. It's just like, you could tell they wanted there to be drama and relationships and not as much music. So luckily, it lasted a couple episodes and got pulled.
Did you ever think about doing, and maybe you did you ever audition for any of the shows, like Idol, The Voice, any of that?
No, I thought about it, but I never, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if that's a great question. I don't know if I ever thought about it too seriously. I don't know if it was, I don't know. Obviously, I think, obviously you're a part of American Idol and it's changed people's careers, but I just never thought about going that route.
I think if anybody would have done it 7 or 8 years ago, there's a lot of strings that would have kept you attached to certain things. It was almost like, give to get, in that you would, back in the day when the show, we'll use Idol, for example, before I was on it, it was like massively pop culture.
Yeah.
Seasons 1 through 7, right?
Yeah.
People watched and you knew and you rooted and you had, but if you won or finished anywhere, they had the rights to keep you and do a lot with you, and that could hurt you.
Yeah.
You had all this, whatever fame is, but you kind of owed that entity. Later, and I did 4 years on it, it was 0% that, but you didn't have as much fame because everything is fractured at this point. Fame is so fractured. And so people would go, hey, I was thinking about doing or auditioning for Idol or The Voice. And, like, how much do we have to owe? I was like, you don't, right?
Yeah.
You have the opportunity if you win, but you don't owe them anything. And I also think the stigma of being on one of those shows has fallen a bit, because now it's just, how can you get as many people to see you?
Yes.
Period.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, I do think early on there was maybe a little bit of a
big time
stigma. And I'd had a record deal and lost it, and I'm about to get another one, and I think that was probably the biggest thing.
There was a deserved stigma, right? Because they cornballed you up on those shows way more than they do now.
Yeah.
And they still do a little bit because they need people to sing familiar songs.
Yeah.
But there were certain artists that we'd be like, you should sing an original.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, if they were like, I say artist, finger quotes, if they were a writer, if they actually played, if they sang and had the ability and capacity to do, and we encourage them to do that.
And I even think, the last Eduardo and some of these people that have come out that are just
name check. Good job. How about that?
Hey, I will say, not that I didn't watch it back in the day, but I have 4 daughters, and so we have some go-tos. And when American Idol comes on, it's like we watch it as a family. So but I think it's not that it wasn't early on, but I think the artistry has really been highlighted in a, you know what I'm saying?
It was refreshing to me to be able to allow people to do their own thing.
Yep.
And some people couldn't and didn't need to because they were just a good straight ahead singer.
Yeah. And I also think now we have enough like history and artists that have come off the show and worked that I don't know. I think I'd probably approach it differently now.
What's up with you and your first record deal? Did you have interest before you moved here, or did you come here and then did you do a publishing deal first? What was the process?
Yeah. So again, back to growing up, like there was no plan B. Grew up playing around Texas. I wanted to be, I loved Randy Travis, Don Williams, George Strait, loved John Mayer. And so I wrote all my own songs, and I entered a Naris Grammy Showcase. I went to music college outside Texas.
What was that thing again? The what?
The Naris Grammy Showcase.
Okay.
And you know Jessie Alexander?
I do.
She was a part of that one of the years that I was in, but I made the finals of that. I came to town. And
how do you do that? Do you send a song? You mail a song or something?
Send a song in that I'd written by myself. And I'd made the finals of that at like 19 or 20. And it got me to town. And Jody Williams, I don't know if you know Jody Williams, ran BMI forever. He had me into his office. I sang and played, and then he took me over to play for Tim Dubois and Tony Brown in Universal. I'm 19. And I walk in, I played for 6, 7 people, and they offered me a record deal on the spot.
What'd you look like? What does 19-year-old Matt look like?
Youthful, spry.
Hair? Like how was
hair?
Hair?
Just thick, wavy hair, yeah. Naive as all get out.
Did you have like a thing visually?
Yeah, like I think country, not too far off this. I did used to rock the cowboy hat more, but I didn't rock it in that meeting. But I was just trying to like cowboy cool,
like vibey country?
A little bit like
young vibey country.
Vibey, yeah, like it would be, well, cowboy boots, but a little James and John Mayer mixed in there. And, and I'd written all these songs by myself. And so I just played it. They offered me a record deal. I'm like, I'm going to be famous. And I always say, God, use that to get me here. But, then you start the journey of, then they throw you in the room with all these like established writers, and you kind of lose.
Hold on, I don't want to lose this.
Yeah.
You got to deal. By the way, for those that aren't watching, when I say vibey, Matt wears eyeliner. He's wearing it today. So he's wearing eyeliner, lipstick. It's a Kiss
Blush,
thing. No, he's not at all. But you got a record deal that day.
Yes.
They offered you a deal that day.
Yeah.
And how does that work? Yes, or I don't know. Let's look at it for a while and come back to you.
Yeah. Joe Nichols was popping off with The Impossible, and Tony Brown had produced George Strait, and Tim had been at Arista for years. And so I think there was like a credibility to them, and Jody had taken me over there. So it was like send the contract over. But yeah, they gave me a bottle. They said, we want to sign you. They gave me a bottle of champagne that I kept forever. And and again, it opened the door to get here. But I think they sent a great contract. And, next thing you know, these songs that you've written by yourself, then you're in the studio. I just don't think I knew who I was enough yet to be, no, this is, I want this. Then they throw you in the studio with Tony Brown, and you got a 12-piece band playing, and then they're like, hey, what if we listen to a few outside songs? And it just changes from the pure, where it started. And if I could go back, I wish I could do it differently, but I wasn't ready. But obviously it got me here, and I'm grateful for the friendships and the door being open to get here.
Screw that. But what about, as far as like, did you ever put a single out?
Yes.
And what was that process and how to do?
I put 2 singles out, and they died in the 40s. But I did the radio tour. Dean and I were talking. I got to, open up for Taylor Swift. I, opened up for Lady A and Zach Brown Band, and did the radio tour. So I got a little bit of the artist, play the Grand Ole Opry a few times. Got to experience a little bit of the artist's life, and but none of them ever took off enough to, gain any traction seriously.
After the second single, is that when that relationship ended with the label?
Yeah, Mark Wright came in, took over, showcased, and we got the word that he was going to drop me. I think he dropped everybody. And I remember, not to be too real, I remember getting in my car and just being like, all right, I'm going to, being super emotional, like I'm going to go back home, like it's over. You almost feel like your world's ending. But I didn't have anything else that I loved. And so I think it's a lot of people's story. I just stuck around because I was like, I love writing. And so I was like, I guess I'm going to stick around, and I'm glad I did. But it was a painful journey.
Did you have a publishing deal at the same time, or was it within the deal you had
signed? It was with Jody. But I've had probably lost 3 or 4 publishing deals before I even had so I was with Jody and lost it. I was with Sony and lost it. I was with a company called Black Inc. And that's when those years are when I started connecting with, the boys from Old Dominion and Shane and Josh. So there started to be like a little bit of nuggets of, okay, we got a hold, and a few things started happening. And then ended up signing with Ashley Gorley's company, Tape Room and Combustion. And
You're there now?
And Warner. No, I'm at Warner now mainly. But yeah, so it's
Mainly? Dang.
Yeah.
Diversifying the portfolio.
I know. There's I have a writer manager named Alicia Pruitt who has a co-venture with Warner. So it's, I think every songwriter's journey would be similar, but it's a lot of songs, a lot of publishing companies, people paying, almost for you to learn how to write songs.
That's why that Lamborghini is here. I didn't know who drove the Lamborghini. That makes sense now.
Times are good.
So what, you almost got a second deal, you say, or you did?
No, never got it.
Were you trying for a while?
Tried for a while. Yeah.
When do you have that internal, okay, the artist thing, maybe we're going to put it on hold, or maybe we're not going to pursue that and we're going to, like, when does that happen?
Yeah. I think in conjunction, I started having a few songs, like Jake Owen cut a song of mine called Heaven. I don't know if you remember, that was on his, what record was that on? Shoot.
I don't know that.
But he talked about it being a sin. But that was, I had a few songs that kind of popped, and I was like, okay, the songwriter thing's getting some life. This is like, I'm 25, 26 at this point. And, but I wrestled for years because I felt like the only thing that was success was being a successful artist, selling out Bridgestone. That was the dream. And it took me years to sort of surrender over time because I experienced enough of the artist thing to go, okay, I think I could be okay writing songs. And I think I had to get to the point where I was like, just because I'm not trying to be an artist on the radio doesn't mean I'm not an artist anymore. I thought that I had to like give that part of me up. And I was just like, I'm still an artist. Now I think it was gradual and over time. And I kind of was like, hey, this is a pretty good life. And now I'm playing more shows than I, can even play, and get to be home 95% of the time. And write songs. So I'm grateful. I wouldn't change anything, but it was an evolution of letting that go a little bit.
What was your first cut?
Oh shoot. Heaven was early on. Do you remember Love and Theft?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, they had a song called Running Out of Air. Yeah, I don't know if that was one of their singles that didn't do well.
Wait, I'm running.
Yeah.
I know that. Wait.
I gotta catch my breath. And I feel weak in it.
Hold on.
I'm back in my head.
How's the hook go?
Shoot, you would.
No, I'm gonna. I know.
Running out of air. Pull it up.
That's the problem, because if you start doing a bunch, and I do this on my show too. If we're doing like 8 songs or talking about songs, and they're like, "Sing Mary Had a Little Lamb," I'm like, "Mary had." Oh, I forgot. I can't do it.
Too many melodies.
Okay, so I'm running out of.
I'm
almost there.
You're there. It's funny. I was in a Home Depot a while back, and it was playing. I was like, "Wow, Home Depot got the deep cuts."
I don't feel like this was that deep though, right? I mean,
yeah, it wasn't really a hit. I mean, it.
No, this is my favorite song of theirs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Babe, I'm gonna run right to you, then I'm gonna run away. Then I'm gonna
Come on, Bobby.
Yeah, this is my favorite song of theirs.
You're the one guy that
over, and I do it all day. That's how you get all your streams on this one. Hold on. I love this song.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're like,
I'm gonna run right to you, then I'm gonna run away. Oh, jam.
I like to think that song was ahead of its time. I really do. I
absolutely agree.
Yeah, felt like it was kind of fresh, but like if it had been a couple years later, it would have worked.
Feels like I'm running out of air. That's a jam, dude.
Thanks, bro. Well,
I didn't know you wrote that one. That was good.
Dude,
my respect for you just went from like low to medium.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm kidding. That's a great song, though.
Thanks, bro.
I feel like somebody should cut that now.
Yeah, like Keith or somebody, or
sure, or like Jelly Roll or Zach Bryan.
Ooh,
let's just go all the Morgan.
Yes, all the hit acts.
Any
please.
of those.
Can you help me with that?
So I'm going to ask this question. I would prefer not to say any names because I have friends that do this, and I'm not asking you to say any names, but I do want to talk about AI for a second. There are different ways that it's utilized.
Yeah.
Difficult lyrically, because I don't feel like AI doesn't have the nuance built into, we'll call it a regionality of country music.
Yeah.
So that's a bit tough. But I know folks who can use AI to sing the song in their own voice.
Yes.
on a demo to see if they would like themselves singing it.
I was with somebody the other day, and they're like, "Hey, we're writing for Jelly Roll," and they're like, "I got a Jelly Roll vocal."
Okay.
And Jelly Roll loves to hear his.
I was thinking of Jelly Roll.
Sorry, I'm not to name names, but this is like known, and so it's
Okay.
like there's not any like saying anything, and so it's like it is becoming a thing in town. I think the artist, I think initially was like, are people going to have a weird thing? But I think it's become a little more regular now, and so it is. Man, what a weird world! Like Warp Speed, this literally happened overnight.
Well, they're also not putting the song out with the AI voice.
Yeah.
So, from my understanding, and I've heard some of this too, if the AI, you can write a song and have that version of that person's voice sing that song and see. Then you can listen to it to see if you would like to sing that song.
Yeah.
And that's just using a tool.
What do you think about the Randy Travis? He's one of my heroes. What are you maybe?
Okay, I think Randy is different than another. I'll talk Randy specifically.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it's pretty cool. And what it did is it
gave him a voice.
It introduced people to the idea, good or bad, of what AI could do. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think really there was an understanding, because it wasn't so much front and center, of how AI would work and allow an artist, or there are people in kind of my business who will AI their commercials because they have all their sounds, that you can sit in a room. I haven't done it, not because I'm too good for it, but because I just don't want to admit that I've done it, because as soon as I do it, I'll admit it.
Yeah.
Where they have you go in a room and I love da. You're doing all these sounds and you're saying words, and then they can make any commercial with your voice. It sounds 93% right.
Yeah.
The fact that you could take and make a song from old recordings, old, voice clips, I think it would make people go, wow, who knew you could do that? And then some of them were like, wow, that's crazy. That doesn't feel like real art. That doesn't feel whatever. So I thought that was a great introduction to what the technology is. And I think for Randy specifically, why I did like it for him is he can't sing.
Yeah.
I think it's different.
It is. Yeah.
If it's an artist that can, who's just like, let's just make it and put it out.
Yeah. And I think, to connect to you, I think what you're saying, I just don't think people, I think people, especially now, we crave authenticity. And I think the human, even the air thing that we talked about, the Colby Calais thing, and I think people, it's like if I knew AI wrote a book, I don't want to read it. I don't know. There's something, if I knew it was an AI vocal, I think the humanity of connecting with the flaws and maybe guitar, I don't know. I connect with that. So I think listeners, if there's a label in the future, this is AI, I think people will not consume it. But again, if it's some background musical piece on planet Earth or something where it's like, this was AI generated, or to me, that's different. But I think this, where you align too. It's like, hey, I think there's spaces that it works, but when it comes to writing lyric and the humanity and the soul part, I just don't think it can do what humans can do. And so I just don't think listeners in the audience will, support it.
It's a word that's not used often, especially in today's climate, but there's nuance with it.
Yeah.
We're not a big nuance culture nowadays, but I also think it will get so good where they can make it sound, quote, more authentic. And I would compare AI to like a book ghostwriter. If you get a great ghostwriter, nobody knows that the person didn't even write the book. And if they think the person wrote the book, they love the book, even though the person didn't write it.
Yeah.
If AI can eventually do that, which it probably at some point will be able to, will laws require there to be a tag? And it'll be different. Yeah. But I'd fake the crap out of it. If I could sing, it'd be all AI.
You have AI doing your show in the mornings, right?
I would just turn it on.
There's a hologram of you doing your show in the mornings.
Okay, so it's funny you bring that up. So pandemics messed up my years. But right before the pandemic, the year before the pandemic, 2019?
Yeah.
Ross Copperman, I'm very close to Ross. Yeah. And Nicole Gallion. Us three got together and wrote a whole bunch of songs. And it wasn't AI, but my idea was I wanted to create a holographic, basically artist, but tour opener that could be the Baby Act and Baby Act at the same time on a bunch of tours. Wow. So it was going to be a hologram, but all the songs would be written by us. We're going to be sung by us. So we're going to write them all, and we're going to build this thing out, and then they was going to go out and be the opener, or like instead of a DJ, you have,
Yeah.
it was called Neon People. And so, and there's a few songs up. We ended up having to shelve it because Nicole got to started being the president of that record label. But we wrote for like 3 months. We wrote all these
I gotta
songs.
hear some of these.
They're really good because Ross and
Yeah.
Nicole. Like I was like, I have this great idea, and then we would secretly write, and we put them under fake names.
Yeah.
And that wasn't AI, but that was, we were going to use technology,
Yeah.
and that came to me. It came to me in a dream. Not really. I was watching like 60 Minutes or something, and in Japan, they had a massive pop star that was a hologram,
Okay.
and I thought, okay, I've seen holograms.
Yeah.
I've seen holograms like Elvis and Tupac and doing their
Yeah.
thing. But what if we created a new one and actually wrote for country
Yeah.
and made it inexpensive to have go around and be a part of a tour and not have to be there?
Wow, that's
It's also lazy.
Yeah.
Like I want to go do it and get
but
paid,
I think
not
it's
have to be there.
creative, and why not? I think if people know what it is on the front end, I think that's
Well, yeah, I mean, they definitely wouldn't think it was
Yeah.
anybody there because it was going to be a computer. But yeah, so I'm going to pull this up. Neon, PPL is how we spelled people. And we worked on it forever. And you're right about Ross, that dude.
yeah. He's a genius, brilliant.
And so Nicole sang the songs.
Okay.
But like, and we never really got to go public with it because before we were done, Nicole, and she was like, she couldn't do it. It was
Yeah.
conflict of interest. But it was like, so it was definitely vibey.
Yeah.
Wasn't super traditional, but still was like regionally.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch, and then Nicole got too big for her britches.
So cool. So she was going to be the voice.
She wrote
Okay.
big for her britches. I mean, she got to be the president of a
Yeah,
record
yeah,
label,
yeah.
like literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was this. We would sit and write, and we would just sing
Yeah.
them right then in Ross's, writing house.
Wow. What a new frontier. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still, I think we're all evolving our thoughts on it. And it's like, I'll be curious in our world and legislation, like, do they put up boundaries, and like you said, tags, but man, what a wild thing that we could have a future pop star that is just created. And people go, hey, it's visually created, all the sounds, but I love it. My kids are jamming to it in the car. It's like, that feels like it's coming.
Running out of air, Neon People.
Yes.
Both ahead of their time.
True.
Both ahead of their freaking time.
So true.
We talked about this before you got here, but we're doing this music night live where
Yes.
you're going to sing. So this is you
Yes.
singing your songs.
Yeah.
How did they approach you to do this?
Yeah, so such a cool Nashville story. I was at a friend's house who's a great friend. He's a musician, and one of his friends was there, Dean Sell, and we hit it off, and we were talking, and Dean sort of shared his vision of this. He had moved here, and in town we have this, for the listeners, like these songwriter nights, which I alluded to earlier. It's at the Bluebird or the Listening Room in people's houses where you go hear, 2, 3, 4 songwriters share the stories behind the songs and play and sing them in their own sort of original way. And Dean had seen one of these songwriter nights at somebody's house and was just saying how moved he was by it, and he loved it. And Dean had a history in film and broadcast, and he just said, "Hey, I have this idea of broadcasting a songwriter night live to movie theaters around America. So if you live in middle of Nebraska or Kansas or wherever, you can go to Texas, you can go to your movie theater and experience the live songwriter night at your local movie theater." And so I thought it was a brilliant idea. And yeah, we met a few times, and he just had the vision and has gone all the way, and obviously gotten some incredible songwriters involved with Brett James and Kelly Archer and yourself being involved, and some great team. And so it's coming to life March 8th.
Yeah. So this is the week of it, right, Mike? So it's this Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central. It's live in all time zones, though. So live in all time zones, does that mean it's going to be 8 Eastern, 7 Central, or does that mean it's going to be 7 in all time zones? Do we know, Mike? Do we know?
It's live in real time.
So 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6
Yeah.
Mountains. Okay. Yeah, having a syndicated show where times are all different.
Yeah.
It's all day. Okay, so 8 Eastern,
Yeah.
7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Yeah, go to the theater. You can look it up too. It's the Fathom Entertainment. What I know
Yeah.
them from is like Phantom of the Opera,
Yeah.
and you watch like a
Yeah.
Broadway show
Yeah.
live there. Do you know what you're going to play yet?
Yeah, some of the songs you listed. I mean, we, obviously had to get some stuff approved. So you'll hear Buy Dirt, how that happened, and Cop Car, Setting the World on Fire.
I'll sing the Pink Part if you need
Happy,
it.
I need
Bring
you,
me
I
in.
need you, bring you in, swoop you in.
People walking out of the theater.
Happy Anywhere, and there might even be a song or two. Travis Denning's song Abby. If you know that song, I wrote that. I might play that.
And our name is Abby.
So I don't know. Yeah, that list. So it's gonna be a fun. I mean, obviously Brett, Jesus Take the Wheel, and Kelly, so many hits. So it's gonna be. And the cool thing about these nights is everyone's different, but there is you play and sing together, and there's just sort of a magic that happens. And so I'm excited for people around America that can't be in Nashville get to experience the specialness of these nights in their town.
Yeah, it's cool. I think sometimes we get so used to it, we forget how cool it is.
Yeah.
You'll see these songwriters, I was going to say guys, but there's a woman too, but guys, who wrote these massive songs, hear the story behind it, and then also sing it the way that you kind of wrote it.
Yeah.
Which is always cool because
Yeah.
it's always a bit different.
Yeah.
The way that it was kind of created. So yeah, I hope people come. And we talked about it way earlier before you got here. And then also, and down in the notes on the podcast, you can see more information, and you can definitely look it up and come. It's gonna be really great.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do a replay of it on the 11th as well, Tuesday, March 11th,
Yep.
7 p.m. local time. What do you do for fun? Like, what's fun?
Man, great question. Obviously, when you got 4 kids, so I have a 13, almost 11, 9, and 7. So I'm like later today. I'm a soccer practice to go to. I'm one of the coaches on a basketball team. So I mean, a lot of stuff fills that void. But I love to fly fish. Big sports fan, and so
How tall are you?
6'4". Yeah, I used to play basketball. Us Jenkins
Golly.
boys. Yeah.
That's crazy. When'd you get tall?
Oh shoot. My dad's 6 foot, so I don't know where it's from. My mom's a little taller, so
What about your grandparents? Any of them massive?
no.
When did you grow? When were you bigger than everybody else?
Probably 10th grade, kind of shot up.
Pretty good basketball player?
Pretty good. Yeah, I probably could have gone D2 college basketball.
You didn't want to at all?
No, I had the love of music and I wanted to chase that. So, but I still play. Ashley Gorley has a.
Last night they called me. Can you come play?
Yeah.
It's 8 p.m. I
Yeah.
can't do anything at 8
Yeah.
p.m. I wake up 4 in the morning.
I used to run at his place all the time, and so there's a few crews. I've kind of gone in and out of retirement a few times.
I worry about my ACLs and
exactly.
MCLs at this point.
Exactly.
I'm not 25, so I'd hurt them the same. If I was 25, it would just heal on time. Now nothing heals.
Did you grow up playing ball?
I grew up playing a lot of ball, but just not that great. I'm a better athlete now than I was as a kid. I grew way later in life.
Yeah.
I didn't start growing till like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
I was 5'3" till like 8 months ago. And then all of a sudden, I was just,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I'm a big sports guy.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite team? Do you have a favorite team now?
Oh.
You a Cowboys fan?
Big diehard Cowboys fan.
Sorry
like
about
painful.
that. That sucks.
Yeah, it's painful. A few decades. Ranger fan, Mavericks fans. We just traded a little.
Oh my gosh, that's even worse than the Cowboys
I
right
know,
now.
I know. Pain.
That's
But yeah, those are I got some college teams, but yeah, all the Texas, mainly Cowboys are like my. But
Do you play any basketball at all now?
yeah, every now and then I'll go. Yeah, run at Ashley's or go to the Y or, but not a ton. We have a goal in our driveway that I shoot with my girls.
They play?
Are
they tall?
They're tall. Yeah.
They have it?
Yeah, they have it. My 9-year-old's really good, and so it's fun to. My 13-year-old's tall, but she just didn't have the love for it, but my 9-year-old loves it, so I'm like, let's go. So
You ever play pickleball?
I've never
That's
played. I got to get into it. I'm actually seen some videos, and I'm like, I know it's like the thing. So are you a big pickleballer?
Yeah, and the floor is pretty high, meaning if you're halfway decent, you can get halfway decent pretty quick.
Yeah.
Now the ceiling's really high, but you can get mid really quick.
What are you?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I play enough, but I'm pretty good. And we have had a court built back here that you may have seen. We own part of a professional pickleball team, which is kind of fun.
Oh.
And so we've lost a lot of money so far.
Yeah.
So don't be that.
Yeah.
Don't be jealous or anything. But yeah, I'm into it. For me, it's the competitive itch when I can't play golf much because I'm just busy.
Yeah.
And golf is 4 hours.
Yeah. It is a commitment. You know, it's funny. I have a few buddies. The thing that I love about pickleball, and it's similar to golf, but like maybe tennis, but you go and they're like, hey, like 60-year-old ladies are like working 20-year-old dudes. So it's like, it really is like the skill of it and the eye-hand coordination of it is,
Especially in doubles. Pickleball allows you to play doubles and be old.
Yeah.
I'd crush a 70-year-old lady, though. There ain't a 7. I'm going to put this challenge out.
Please, let's tell about it.
Lady 60 or older in pickleball, I will beat you. I will demolish. I don't care. If you're 60 and above, I will play you and demolish you.
Hey, what was that like famous tennis match between
Battle of the Sexes.
Battle of the Sexes? We should do that. Let's get like,
but only 60 and above. No. If you're 60 and above, I will, and you're female, I will pound you in pickleball.
You should raise some money for charity.
Yes, find me anybody. Heck, or 70 and above. I'll make it easier. Or 70 and above. Yeah, you'd like it.
Yeah.
Because you can play it pretty quick. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming
you,
over.
Brother.
And
thanks, man. Thanks. Hey, and I just want to say, man, I'm thank you for being such a champion of songwriters, and I've been a fan. Just on your show, just you hear a song and you believe in it, and you'll blast it, and creating a platform for songwriters to have a voice and be people know them. So thank you, man. Thanks for honor to be on, and thank you for what you do.
I appreciate that. And can you sing?
Yeah.
You still have it?
Oh yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want you to think, but like you're gonna do this. I mean, a lot of people
we're
watching.
doing it.
I don't want you to get nervous and be like, oh my God, you got a little traumatic. The old days.
No,
you're good.
I got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
I'll be ready. Music night. Let's go.
If you tug your ear twice, I'll run in.
Okay. Yes.
And lend vocals.
That would be
mine are
pretty,
C minus
can we
at
do that?
best, and I only sing in the key of G.
Okay.
So everything needs to be in G, or I can't do it.
Maybe we do a little running out of air and
dude. I'll be ready to go. Let's go. I wasn't lying. That song's a jam.
Thank you, bro.
Were you surprised I knew it though?
That dude, you knew to show Nashville and run out of air. You know your stuff. I'm impressed.
I know the stuff that I know.
Yeah.
I don't know all of it. Just the stuff that I know. Mike, anything? Matt?
We're all good.
Okay. Awesome. You guys follow Matt at Matt K Jenkins. And then get tickets at musicnight.com. We talked about at the beginning. I'll mention it one more time, musicnight.com. Notes are down in the podcast notes. We'd love for you to come see it, because if you do, that means we'll probably get to do it again.
Yep.
And that's the goal.
Let's go. Yes.
We're not just doing this as one time.
Yes.
We want to have a career of doing this. Every week we want to do Music Night theaters across America.
Yep.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Matt, and we will see you guys next time.